If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.
And we're back, and I have two amazing guests with me tonight. I'm Chris Evan, CEO of Survival Dispatch. We have Michael Letts with us. Great to see you, Michael.
Great, Chris. Always a privilege to be with you.
So our audience knows JJ Carrell's reputation precedes him wherever he goes. He's got incredible passion and one of our top fighters against child sex trafficking. But Michael, just to give our chance an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you without me doing any disservice, I'll have you introduce yourself.
Well, I'm the founder and president of Invest USA. We've been in business for over 32 years, making sure our first responders have the necessary protection to come home safely to their families. We've had a transition over the years. It used to be in the old days, you had a concealable vest. The only thing it was stopped would be a pistol. Of course, back in those days, criminals didn't want to be known as criminals. They tried to hide it until they actually committing the crime. Now they're bold. They bring out long-range rifles, among other things, and of course that won't be stopped by a concealable vest. So we had to create new technology called active shooter vests. The vests that we provide have titanium plates in them. Stop anything, even stop a 50 caliber. Of course, you'll be dead from the blunt trauma, but you'll look good in the casket. But that's the kind of stopping power that we need. That's the kind of support we need to show to our first responders. Unfortunately, over the last 4 years, we've had an administration that's did everything but despise and try to destroy this country and our first responders in the process. And thank God that ends in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing. Michael, you shared a stat with me a while ago when we first met, and I'd like you to share it with our audience as well. How many law enforcement officers do not have any type of body panel armor?
90% do not have it. Only
what?
a little less than 10% have active shooter vests. When we first started Invest, 52% of cops had no vest, period. We got that down to 19% who had concealable vests. Of course, then we had to change things, and because of the fact they're using long-range rifles, but because it's relatively new technology, 90% of cops on the street do not have active shooter vests. What a disservice to ask them, because here's what's fixing to happen, guys. We're fixing to line them up to go in and begin to apprehend these drug cartelists, these child sex traffickers, these terrorists, these villains that have been let in from all across the country. Well, you know they're not going to be sitting on the corner with their little lunch pail packed, ready to go easily. And we're going to ask our brave men and women in blue to go in and start rounding them up without the necessary equipment to protect themselves. That's a crying shame. We can do better, folks. We send billions over to Ukraine. Why can't we take care of our own?
Yeah, very well said, Michael. So I just want to be clear for our audience. So the top quality body panels, less than 90%, or more, 90% of our law enforcement officers don't have that, but the bulk of them would have something like a 3A body panel. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah. Good clarification. I appreciate that. So I want to open this up by getting an update from both of you on two particular topics, and that's the border and child sex trafficking. And just so our audience knows, Michael, you're friends with Tom Homan. You work closely with Tom Homan. So I'll let you go first, and then I want to hear JJ's updates as well. So go ahead, Michael.
Well, you know, on the border situation, it's ironic. This administration, talk about the current one, the Biden administration, has said there would be a peaceful transition of power. We all know that was a bunch of malarkey. What he has done is he's tried to present an image that it's being peaceful, but behind the scenes, he's done everything possible to thwart what President Trump is attempting to do, including creating a new app and advertising to try to bring as many last-minute people to come across the border as possible, including Tierra de Aguera from the Venezuelan gang. Isn't it ironic that the last week or so, they decided to charge the Border Patrol and to try to use knives and tire irons and et cetera to try to charge in and take on the Border Patrol. Now, my recommendation is those should go home in a body bag. We shouldn't even be considering having that. We need to have military intervention down there by all means, and definitely should have our Border Patrol agents fully armed And quite frankly, I know people don't like the way this sounds, but you're going to charge and try to bring in destruction to the American people with drugs, with child sex trafficking, and you want to challenge our law enforcement. I think we just go ahead and take you out and let you go ahead and float on down the river for alligator footage down the road.
So JJ, I think we have the first guest ever who has the same level of passion as you.
I think the days of just walking softly are over. The trying to people and we need to talk about hard facts. The hard facts are that we have people in our country that are trying to kill us. We have traitors running our government. And you ask, what's the update on child sex trafficking and the open borders? I don't have an update. It's all the same. Nothing's changed. Everyone has this magical mindset that Donald Trump got elected and everything's good now. No, everything has gotten worse now. The numbers that are coming out are still showing anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 people a day are being arrested and then released. You can double, triple that because 80% of the border is unmanned, so it's completely wide open. All the child sex trafficking has continued to go on. There's going to be at the end in what, 12 days, 9 days, 10 days?
10 days.
Trump days, he becomes president. There'll be 550,000 unaccompanied alien children called UACs that have come across the border and they're gone. They don't know where they are. 550,000. Yes. 550,000. They have the idea that we are going to, Donald Trump comes into office and then the 50 million illegal aliens are going to just disperse back to their home countries. You're living in fantasy land. And Michael said it best. You're sending all of our law enforcement, sheriffs and border patrol and ICE officers into ambushes. You're going to go into buildings and extract terrorists, PLA soldiers, and gang members, foreign national gang members. Good luck. I'm going to make a prediction, and I'm going to tell you I pray every night that I'm wrong. I hope I'm 100% wrong. But in the next 18 months, you're going to see historic stats of law enforcement officers in line of duty deaths. There's no way around it. Because I can just sit and do the math. I can tell you, let's say 50, and I can show you how I get to 50 million. No one even disputes it. 50 million plus illegal aliens. 1 in 6, 1 in 7 residents in America is illegal alien. Let's say half of them leave. Hell, let's just say over half. Just 20 million are gang members. Just 20 million. What if I told you you're going to have 1% of those 20 million encounters are going to be violent? That is 200,000 violent encounters with police officers. That's a war. That's not policing. That's a war. 1%. The best case scenario is 1%. What if it's 10%? 2 million encounters, 2 million firearms are going to go off. How many of them are going to be our law enforcement officers? There's only 660,000 law enforcement officers in America.
Correct.
Do the math. We are in the worst possible shape. And I also have to say this before we go on. President Biden, Harris, Mayorkas, and the whole cabal, they're traitors. They've committed treason against America, and they need to be arrested, tried, and then if they're found guilty, death penalty has to be applied to them. Has to be. If you don't, then we're just talking unicorn and rainbows. Nothing's going to change. That's my greatest concern with Donald Trump. Is he going to pull the trigger? I mean, is he going to go all in that way?
Michael, you're the man to address this. Go ahead, Michael.
JJ, I'm confident he will be going all in. And quite frankly, I don't think the American public knows just how much he's going to be going all in. He has a personal objective to restore law and order in this country. And we've had this discussion quite a few times. You can't have law and order without accountability.
Right.
And you can't have accountability by saying, well, I think I'll let JJ off because he's a nice guy, but I'm going to get Chris. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Either we uphold the law and order for everyone. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what your party affiliation is. You broke the law. You're going to hold for what the penalty is and be held accountable for it. And I think the president clearly understands that. And I think he understands that our country's survival depends on it. Because what we do now will determine where we go for generations ahead.
You know, Michael, I think that's a great point, and that's something that no one really talks about, is the fact that if we do not put the people that have committed treason, we're not talking about Jimmy Carter, who's incompetent, that was just made bad policy decisions and on and on. He was a patriot. He loved America. I mean, he was horrific as a president, but you can't put someone in jail because they suck at their job. But you can put people in jail that intentionally and strategically and purposely did everything in their power to destroy America. And there is no other rational explanation why they did what they did on illegal immigration. They weaponized illegal immigration to fundamentally transform America. They have to be punished. And this is what I want, Michael. And I know that if I was president, I would act differently. But this is how, if I was president, the moment my hand comes off that Bible, the moment they say, JJ Carrell, you're the president, armed guards are walking down the grandstands and they're sacking up and hooking up people right there in bump, because I want America to see this is what's going to happen in the next few months, and it's going to be painful to watch, but it has to happen. And
I love your idea.
I do, but Michael, I think, and I'd like to hear your point on this, I think Trump has to sacrifice the current abuse that he will take for doing the right thing. But 100 years from now, if he arrests Hillary Clinton, Mayorkas, Biden, Harris, Obama, all the way down, all the people that did the stolen election in 2020, everything that's been treason, history will show him to be the greatest, most powerful president in the history of the United States of America.
Well, I think, JJ, let me give you some assurance from this standpoint. If we were talking 8 years ago when Trump first came into office, he assumed that everybody wanted to be a patriot, that everybody wanted to be on board, and that, quite frankly, that you would make sure you didn't do anything wrong again. He didn't realize how deep their hatred was for this country. He knows it now. He's experienced it. He has seen the personal attacks, and he realizes that, quite frankly, if we don't take this approach, again, what message are we sending to future generations? We will never have law and order. And if we don't have law and order, we don't have a country. So what are we fighting for? And quite frankly, I think this country is worth fighting for. Our forefathers taught that, and we're not going to give it up now.
Well, Donald Trump has done something amazing. I think, I could be wrong, I'm looking from the outside in and just hearing people that know him like yourself. I think Donald Trump made a tactical error in 2016, but he did it in good faith. And that was not putting Hillary Clinton in jail. She should have been in jail. He misread the room. He thought that by being gracious, that they would see that as, okay, let's make amends. All they did is they saw that as weakness, and they attacked him and his family to the point they tried to kill him. My greatest fear is they feel like they can't kill him. Like, they don't believe in God like we do, but they believe something is happening in the universe to protect him. So how else do you hurt a man like that? And a man that has everything. Well, you can't go after his money. He has too much. You can't take out his power. He's so powerful. What do? You kill his children and his grandchildren and his family. That's what you do. And do not think that they are not planning to do that right now.
Well, there've already been threats along those lines. They get hidden from the media, and quite frankly, we're determined to make sure this president gets all the protection that's needed and then some. And what we're advising the president to do this, JJ. So you might want to, you and Chris might want to keep this on the radar screen. You know, he doesn't necessarily have to be the face to be able to get this accomplished. No. He can smile, and he can just turn to others like myself and say, take it from here, and we will be glad to make sure the job gets finished. And as long as the job gets done, that's all the American people need to be concerned about.
I think that's happening right now. When you look at who he's picked, like, look at the major picks he's done. Everyone that has been put in positions of ultimate authority and power, they have all been adversely affected by that department or organization. So you have, let's take Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard gets put on the no-fly list. She's going to go in the very first day and say, I need to see my jacket. I want to see who did this to me, and then I want them in my office right now. And then it just runs downhill. What if when RFK Jr. gets in and he's now over the group of people that have been demonizing him and trying to put him in financial ruin. Now he gets to go, give me my jacket. Let me see what you guys have been doing. Okay, now everyone's being arrested. So I agree with you. I think Donald Trump realized this problem is so big I can't do anything singularly. However, if I have my lieutenants do it, I'm going to get it done.
He's got a great team.
Few comments, few questions as well. Number one on Tulsi. So Sonia Labasco was the one who broke the story, and there were two whistleblowers that came to her. So Sonia used to be a sergeant, Daytona PD, just south of us, and then she ended up a U.S. Marshal, and she does a great job of defending whistleblowers, and she has all the receipts on who and how Tulsi was put on that list. So I fully expect we're going to hear a whole lot more on that subject. Good catch, JJ. I'm kind of going backwards through my notes here. So I don't know how much I can share with our audience, Michael, on your background, but I think I could probably say that you're familiar with Patrick Byrne, who was a Senate Intelligence Committee asset and the CEO of Overstock for years.
Correct.
We've had him on here a couple times before. He's coming on again next week. Here's an interesting thing, JJ. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Patrick Byrne went to his handlers, essentially, and said, hey, I have evidence that Hillary Clinton took a $20 million bribe from the Turkish government. Here's the details. So they took it, they digested it, and they came back to him and they said, we've put $18 million in this bank account, and we want you to set up another bribe, not you directly, but indirectly, to bribe Hillary with this $18 million so that we know 100% for sure we have an airtight case against her. He did that. And then, Michael, you can probably add something to this, but Patrick Byrne's opinion is that John Brennan is the bridge between the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and Obama. Like, he's truly the one who pulls Obama's strings, who in turn has been running the shadow government. But bottom line is they went to Brennan, and Obama went to Hillary and said, we got you on a $20 million bribe from Turkey. We got you on an $18 million bribe that we set up. And here's the deal. You're going to be the president for the next 8 years, but we're going to put a Bunsen burner under your ass. If you're a good girl, we'll keep the flame down. If you're a bad girl, we'll turn the flame up. And they had obviously anticipated and cheated, just not enough to win 2016. At that point in time, that intel was given to Donald Trump by Patrick Byrne face to face.
That is correct.
Your comment about Hillary not being incarcerated, he had the goods, he had the receipts, and he could have incarcerated her, and he was too nice. So I agree with you on that one. A couple other quick questions and comments here. A lot of people are kind of wondering, why on earth would the Democrats be flooding the country with all these illegals? And the fact of the matter is, Democrats don't breed, they don't have children. So if they don't import these other people to vote for them, they'll disappear eventually. So, I mean, and I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. I'm just sharing that with our audience, that the invasion is essentially to have people who will vote forever and ever for the Democrats.
Well, excuse me, one more thing, Chris, on that, because this is very important that we can't overlook, is where do all these illegal aliens, the majority of them, go? Blue cities and blue states. So what they do in the 2020-30 census comes out and they count them, they are going to flip the House. 60 plus seats will go to Democrat blue cities, and they will remove 60 red state seats. So you're looking at a complete changeover. When you talk about demographic upheaval like we've never seen before, what you're really listening to is electoral college, and you're listening to House appropriated seats. That's what.
Yeah, I was going to say that, JJ. You know, the key is not just the House; it's the Electoral College.
Yes,
they can lock down, and they will control the White House. They will control the House of Representatives, and of course, they will control the Senate, because the House will immediately vote to allow statehood for D.C., Puerto Rico, a few other places that will guarantee them that they'll have over 50% of the representation in the Senate. So they'll lock it down for generations to come. You know, one of the other things I want to pick up real quick that you had said, JJ, I lived in Mexico, grew up there my entire life. So I'm very familiar with how they operate and how the drug lords operate. And you talking about violence and a lack of conscience, you hadn't seen anything yet. It's just fixing to get started.
Well, you got to, and you know this, Michael, the cartels are already here. The idea, the old days, this is how it used to work. The cartels pushed their narcotics up to the border into America to some stash houses, and then gangs in America, either Hispanic gangs, Latin gangs, white national, the biker gangs would come and take the narcotics and then distribute it. Those days are gone. Correct. The cartels have moved into America, and they own all the distribution, all of it. So now we have allowed the enemy to just set roots in here. And this is why, and to go back real quick, guys, when we're talking about 50 million illegal aliens, when I know why they're saying we're going to go after the hardened criminals. I get that. It's a PR move. However, I implore Donald Trump, Tom Homan, and Rodney Scott, all three of those men, I have the utmost respect, and I believe they are the men for the job. I implore them. every 50 million of them have to go, not just the quote criminals. When you look at the destruction of New York City, Chicago, Aurora, Colorado, I mean, Springfield, Ohio, I can just go on and on, small towns all across America. They're being decimated not only from crime, but from a demographic upheaval, and all the social services, education, hospitals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, are being devastated because we are taking all of our resources and giving to third world people that have no job skills. I'm so tired of hearing about their great workers. They're awesome. If you really believe that, then let's go down a couple steps of intellectual curiosity and ask yourself, if they're so wonderful, why do we have 50 million? Why don't we have 350 million illegal aliens? If they're that great, industrious, and why? And then let's go one step further. If those 50 million people are so wonderful, so intellectually better than us and work harder than us, why is their countries third world cesspools and we're not? Because the real truth is over 50% of every illegal alien that comes across the border is illiterate in their own language.
Correct.
To talk about knowing English and right, that's like telling me I need you to go to Harvard and be an astrophysicist. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Right. So when we telling me that we're bringing third world people in, listen, I did this for a living. The vast majority do not know how to spell their name. They've never used a pen or a piece of paper. They don't know how to even put a mark on a piece of paper. They don't know when they were born. Now explain to me how 50 million of those people, I'm not being mean. I'm just speaking factually true. How do those 50 million third worlders integrate into America? And the answer is they don't. They never will.
Well, we have two different issues that we've got to pick up here, JJ. The first of all is just what you're saying. The fact that what they contribute versus what they take is a whole lot more than what they contribute. And we have to understand that. We have to understand that very simplistically. We have to also understand that they are very well organized. I'm talking about the cartels now, and the drug and the gang. They have put together an organization that's much better than the mafia ever did in the 30s. And they've got them in every state. They've got it well organized all across. The only other way we're going to be able to accomplish this is law enforcement. This is going to overwhelm us with law enforcement. We're going to have military support. The president is committed to that. And quite frankly, I've been pressing that we need to have the military very active and very visible, because quite frankly, that's the only thing that's going to save some law enforcement lives when the cartels understand that what they're up against, that they're not up against somebody that just happens to have 9 to 5 type of law enforcement situation, but that they are tactical with full armament, with full access to every type of ordinance that's necessary to complete the job.
Well, Michael, let's look at this in real time. Okay, so your audience understands what are we talking about, like physically looks like. I want you to just go to Aurora, Colorado, where Tren de Aragua has taken over apartment complexes, multiple neighborhoods. Let's just pick one apartment complex that has 100 units. Are you telling me Aurora, Colorado police that have 738 officers, 738 against thousands of Venezuelan gangsters, and they don't even have a gang task force, right? They just started it. So now you're going to tell me you're going to take every day on the street beat cops, and you're going to tell them they need to siege a 100-unit complex? They're going to go down those halls and get picked off one by one by one. They don't
even have the active shooter vest. That's exactly right. They don't even have the necessary equipment to complete that mission.
No,
and they're not even
close. All going to die. They're going to die. Exactly. But this, I'm talking about one simple apartment, right, with multiple law enforcement fatalities. What does that look like when I tell you that Tren de Aragua had 6 states in August, September that they had roots in? They're over 26 states now that they're in. And we're talking about one little prison gang in Venezuela. We're not talking about the millions of other gangsters and criminals,
MS-13 and others.
Yes, and million of terrorists. We have terrorists in our country by the over 1 million, and people just act like I got 5 heads when I say that. I go, I can break it down for you and tell you the numbers, DHS numbers, not even my numbers, just DHS grossly lying numbers. But we are in a world of hurt. And in order to eradicate this stage 4 cancer, it's not going to be a little radiation. And no, we're talking
Correct.
about taking a meat cleaver and cutting the body up and disposing large parts of your body in order for you to live. And that's the way we need to think about this. Stage 4 cancer, and we need to go in and eradicate it now, or you are going to die quickly.
JJ, a couple quick comments and a question for you. And then, Michael, I want to go down that rabbit hole of manpower, law enforcement, military, and all those aspects. So, number one, JJ, 60 seats in 2030, being reappropriated. That's an incredible number. I don't know if people understand the gravity of that. That is a quantum shift, and it would be the final shift. We would never regain power with those kinds of numbers.
Correct.
I appreciate you sharing that for sure. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, JJ, when Michael mentioned that there were TDA gang members rushing the border, taking on CBP, did you ever see anything like that in your 23 years?
No, and the reason why you didn't see that was multiple reasons, but the number one reason was there was some kind of unwritten rule amongst the cartels and the Border Patrol. You don't shoot and kill us, and we won't shoot and kill you. We'll just play this cat and mouse game. If you catch my load, you catch my load, you arrest us, but we won't shoot and kill you. Because what happens every time throughout my career, when one of those savages did not follow the law of their land, the cartel land, and they killed a Border Patrol agent or an ICE officer, guess what happened? The whole border got shut down. So don't tell me we can't shut a border down, because I've already been there and done it. The whole entire border gets shut down. All of their stuff, all their product gets banged up. And guess what they do? Every single time. It's fascinating. Go, everyone go fact check me. When a cartel has a loose cannon and he kills a Border Patrol agent and gets back to Mexico, you know what they do? The cartel does the very first thing? They kill him. They kill him. They staple paperwork to him and saying, this is the guy that killed your Border Patrol agent. Let's get back to our informal agreement. Okay.
Correct.
And they're like, please, can we just keep moving billions and billions of dollars in narcotics across? That's how insane this world has gotten now, that we are seeing things in 100 years of the United States Border Patrol history. We're seeing things that never happened in 96 years. Everything has changed from human smuggling trafficking, child sex trafficking, and the narcotics trafficking. And Mike, you know this. When you have a free flow of goods and services that are illegally brought across the border, and there is no barrier, there is no risk of losing everything, and then it gets shut down overnight. They are not. We're talking about $1 trillion business, not $1 billion.
Correct.
$1 trillion annually, at least $1 trillion annually of drugs, humans, cash, and children coming across the border. Do you think that any organization is going to just go, all right, we'll close down the $1 trillion business? Are you that stupid, America? And
Well, what
sometimes
makes
I think
matters,
America's that dumb.
well, what makes matters worse, JJ, is we left $86 billion of ordinances in Afghanistan that, the Taliban and ISIS and Al Qaeda have been all too happy to make sure find their way to the border and across now. So we're dealing with gangs that are not just using minimal ordinances. They've got the best equipment. They've got night vision. They've got drones. They've got armed drones. They've got the stuff just as good as we do in our military system, which is why I've been pressing the issue. It's great to have, from an image standpoint, our first responders as the tip of the spear, but the majority bulk of that spear is going to have to be military intervention.
But we have that, Michael. This partnership between National Guard and Border Patrol, or even if you went to Army, Air Force, whatever, but there's already working relationships between National Guard and Border Patrol. So that is not a far-fetched to say, and I ran those. I was in charge of my National Guard units that were assigned to me. And so they would fall right under me as far as chain of command. So we had command and control there. I agree with you. When we go and storm that apartment complex in Aurora, there's giant, military vehicles with guys with 50 cals on there ready to rock and roll. And the first savage that runs out with his gun, you hit him 5 or 6 times and literally disintegrate his body. The rest of the cowards would be like, I'm out. I'll go back to Venezuela. I don't care. Right?
You're exactly right, JJ.
If you pussyfoot it and you go in half-assed because you're worried about optics, worried about the media, that is a disservice, not only to our country, but the men and women that you're sending in there into a death trap. Why would you do that? Why? To appease the mental patients that have brought us to this point? In fact, stop worrying about the mental patients and the traitors. They're already be arrested and put in jail. All of them. That's why you have to do it. You have to do it swiftly.
And you have to understand, JJ, that when you don't go in hard to begin with, you can never go in harder later. You set the tone on the first hit.
And you know, Michael, and I agree with that 100%, because I always believed you go in hard and fast and you make a statement, guess what? That reverberates throughout the nation. All of those savages are going to go, we underestimated these guys. They got a new leader. They're going balls to the wall and they're going to slaughter us. You know what? I'm out. They claim to have loyalty. They don't have the same blood loyalty that law enforcement and military have. We'll go to the ends of the earth. They'll get hit and nicked or hurt and they're gone. They're out. But if we pussyfoot it and we allow them to think that they can beat us, then that will empower them, embolden them. Absolutely. Great point.
Quick comment, and then I've got questions for both of you. A close friend of mine, his father-in-law was the Minister of Defense in Pakistan when we had Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was over there visiting them, and he's an international arms dealer, by the way. He was sending me screenshots from his phone that some marketplace, similar to Facebook Marketplace, but obviously not Facebook, you could buy all the equipment that we left in Afghanistan. So M249 closed bolt machine guns, $1,200. $1,200 for those. You could buy, PVS 14s for $100-200. You could buy the whole quad rig of PVS 31s for about $500. Like the dollar figures were so low. So what you said, Michael, we've mentioned this on SDM before. That stuff got bought up in Pakistan and brought straight to Mexico, and the cartels have it. Sinaloa has it. And it's unbelievable, the repercussions of such a stupid move. But here's my questions for you guys that I'd love to hear your opinions on. Number one, with only 660,000 law enforcement officers, how are we going to supplement that low manpower? And then the next part, and I know you mentioned military, and I want to hear what kind of role they would be in. Michael, is there any chance that we would send spec ops teams into Mexico to take these guys out?
Yes, definitely. And quite frankly, I think, where we're pushing now is look, if you don't want to fix your problem on your side of the border, which I realize you probably can't because they are so corrupted, their military is so bought. Okay. If you can't seem to get a handle on the problem, don't worry about it. We'll fix it for you. We may end up in Mexico City. We may end up a little further south, but we'll make sure when we're done, we'll let you know. We're going to head home. That's what has to be done.
That's the best news I've heard today. I'd like both of you to answer this because JJ, you being on the front lines as CBP, how do you see the military working with CBP and other law enforcement agencies? Michael, you can go first then, or JJ, it doesn't matter. Whichever one wants to go first, fine.
Well, I was going to say quickly, what JJ was saying is, yes, it's the guard, but we have to go beyond the guard. We have to bring in our active. We have to bring in special ops. It has to be a concerted effort. This has to be an engagement of theater like it was in World War II. All hands on deck, every asset that we have, and we have to bring it in quickly, bring it to a quick resolution. Then we can back down at a later date.
Michael, I agree with you. And I wrote this in my book, Invaded, as one of my solutions. You bring the military, whatever that number is that you need, Army, Navy, Air Force, everything, and then you up it 25%. And what you need to do is you need to go down to the border towns and communities and take a quarter mile. If that's what you need, if you need a mile, that's fine too. You eminent domain that whole border. And when I mean eminent domain, I don't mean kick people out and pay them pennies on the dollar. Take the $200 billion that you send to Ukraine and then give them 5-10 times their value and move them, physically move them, pay for it, everything that when somebody's sitting there and I got a farm, hey man, I'm going to buy it, but I know it should only be $1 million. I'm going to give you 10 million because it's such, the government has failed you so much that I have to take your land. Okay. So everyone's going to come out of it like, hey, this is great. You take over and you make that a no man's land. You have roaming armies. And listen, one person comes over that border, you blast them. Blast them. They're dead. And you say, well, that is inhumane, JJ. How could you say that as a Christian? I'll tell you this. Last year, you had almost 1,000 illegal aliens die in the desert. die that we know of. There's
Yes.
probably another 1,000 we don't know, and the thousands, tens of thousands that have died crossing, coming up to America border. So what happens? I kill 1 people, I kill 5 people, stops. So I kill 5 people on day 1 on January 21st. I kill 5 people, and everyone stops. Guess what? I'm plus 995 non-deaths by illegal aliens. I'm in a surplus, and then it never happens again. If you do not have the military on the border, then you're just whistling Dixie. This is all a lie. Don't tell me that I can't build a wall over the Rio Grande. I'm looking at the Great Wall of China, which is immense, going over mountains that we can't even imagine. And you're telling me the United States of America sending spaceships out to Mars, I can't build a wall. No, you won't. You can. You won't. Like Marco Rubio, Lindsey Graham, all the other rhinos that have run our government for ad nauseum, they're traitors too. If we're going to be honest, though, guys, if we're going to talk about traitors and we're going to talk about people that need to go to jail, then we need to talk about the Republicans too. We have a mass problem of the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bunch of rhinos and establishment candidates. There's no question about that. The only thing I would add further to what you said, JJ, is I support everything you said. I just will carry it a step further. We need to use our special ops to go in and just eliminate them, not just within a mile of the border, to eliminate the main opposition all the way anywhere in the country. Take them all out.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I'm talking about our side as a Border Patrol agent.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I want a quarter mile or a mile north. I want it bulldozed. I want it complete concrete. You cannot cross there. You get slaughtered. Do I think if we're going to play this game of, well, let's say no to drugs, you have to go down and you have to eradicate the problem.
Correct.
But at the same time, guys, I think America needs to put a giant mirror in front of themselves, because we're the #1 consumer of child pornography. We're the #1 consumer of hard narcotics. We pay to rape children. We're the top nations. We're the #1 nation that exports pornography. We are the problem. Do I hate the cartels? Do I think they're demons and they should all die and they're savages? Absolutely. Sign me up. I'll go kill them. God is my witness. I'll go to heaven. He'll give me a pass to go to heaven for killing them. However, you need to look at the cartel as like an Amazon Prime. They're delivering products that you are ordering.
Correct.
America's ordering children. America's ordering cocaine, heroin, fentanyl. We are ordering everything that's killing us. They're just the Amazon that's supplying it. So until we get some kind of control over our morality of America, because I believe America is not the shiny city on the hill anymore. And if you do, I would like to have that very robust discussion about that. I don't. I see us as a moral cesspool. And why does the rest of the world hate us? And they do hate us. If everybody thinks that they love us, you're a fool. They hate us because we export all this garbage to them. All of it. But
we're hypocrites, JJ. We're hypocrites. We're hypocrites.
Oh, we are. So look, you listen, I always do this when I tell people, listen, I was a senior leader in the Border Patrol, and I would have a supervisor, say, that is embroiled in all kinds of whatever problems in the workforce. That person would have 10 people that don't even know about the other problems coming to me and saying, this guy's causing a problem. So when I bring that supervisor in, I say, listen, 10 people have a problem with you. Let's say 50% are wrong. That still leaves 5 people that have no connection to each other have a problem with you. You are the problem. And you look at America and you look at every war, every civil war, every international war, conflict, any problem in the world. Guess who's in the middle of it? Guess who's connected? America. So why do you think they hate us? Because we have destroyed the world. We have done everything our founding fathers told us do not do. Do not get involved in foreign conflicts. Do not flex your power. Be isolationist in the way that we're going to take care of America. We're going to have trade partners. We're going to take care of America. We are so far off our founding documents, our founding fathers. We don't even resemble the United States of America anymore. We don't. We resemble a powerful.
The military complex don't like your statements because they make an awful lot of money off of having the positions that we have nowadays.
But what is going to change it, guys? What is going to, how much more do we have to take before men like us say, you know what? Thomas Jefferson said, I have a moral obligation to destroy the tyrannical government. When is that going to happen? I ask myself
I
that.
think we're
And you know what
starting
does
it now.
And God's given me, he's given me some talents, and I am a grinder, but one thing he gave me none of is patience. I just don't have any patience anymore, and I want it done now. And as I get older, guys, I work out, and I know this is going to sound, I know this is going to sound crazy, and I'm very aware how crazy it sounds. When I work out, and I have a gym in my garage, so because I just don't have the time to go to a gym. It's freezing here in Kansas. I'm still out there pumping weight, running. You know why? Because if God allows me to be an instrument of his death and reconstruction of truth in the world, I need to be fit and ready to go. That's my whole mindset, because we have been led down this road by hypocritical people, traitors, mental patients that have destroyed America, not only just through the border, but just through morality, the gay, lesbian, transgender, XYZ divide by sign, pie chart. We have been destroyed. We don't even resemble America. We don't even have 2-parent households anymore. And the reason why this has happened is because men like us, I'm not talking about just directly us, but men, American men, have become fat, lazy, and impotent and cowards. And we allowed people that we would never even give quarter to tell us how to run our life. Not only tell us, but direct us and demand, you're going to do this. And we all said, yes, sir. Please don't cancel my Facebook. Please don't take me off of X. That's it. That's the American man. The American man is at fault for everything.
The churches have failed, JJ. The churches have been an ultimate failure in our society. And
you're great. You're right, dude. I'm Catholic. My Catholic priest can't even say the truth anymore. I know the Baptist preachers I grew up with and the Lutheran, they're all the same. All across. They don't even speak the truth anymore.
It's all country clubs now.
It is. And you know why the pews are half empty? Because nobody wants to come and hear you bullcrap lie to them. They don't.
That's exactly right.
And the irony,
they don't want to be a hypocrite.
It would. But here's the irony, Mike. If you had a solid priest or pastor that came in and said, this is it, 10 commandments. If you're a Democrat, get the hell out. You vote for abortion, get out. You're homosexual, transgender, get out. You can come back when you've asked God for forgiveness. Now get out. And here's the irony. Every church in America will be packed to the gills. They would have, I have 3 masses on Sunday. The priests would have to have 10 masses to facilitate that many people wanting to hear the truth. But we don't. I look around and I go, hey, church half empty again. Why? Because you're a coward. Priest so-and-so, you're a coward. You won't speak the truth. And I can go. Thank you for saying that about the pastors and the churches.
Chris, sorry we stole your time. I want to give it back to you.
No, not at all. I've been monitoring some of the comments in the live chat, and everybody's thrilled to hear from both of you. The intelligence, the passion, the strategy that you bring to the table. A number for you, JJ. I just looked this up recently, and I asked our friend Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers if he could verify it, and he did. We currently have 74,000 Special Forces soldiers, and that's actually the one bright spot, because typically we have 40, 50,000. 74,000 is the biggest that number's ever been. So we've got reduced headcount in law enforcement. We've got reduced headcount in military, but our spec ops guys, the numbers are high. So that's one positive thing to look at. So back on the manpower question, I heard, and I got to be careful what I say here because I was asked not to say too much, but I heard that Tom Homan was potentially thinking of leveraging NGOs to help with the deportation, just like the liberals have leveraged NGOs to invade our country. Is there, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, there's a lot of validity, a lot of merit to that. And here's what people get very frustrated with me, and that's okay. But I say, look, the Democrats, to their credit, have come up with some very brilliant strategies. But we are too weak-kneed to fight fire with fire. If you're going to win this mission, I call them missions, this battle, you don't go into a gunfight with a knife. Now, figure out what is working and what has worked well and take it from them. You pin them to the ground, steal their armament, shoot them in the head with it, and then move forward and start using it to your advantage. And that's exactly what we need to do. They are brilliant at NGOs. They are brilliant at how they've leveraged the country to force itself against itself and destroy itself. So we're going to be taking a lot of their strategies and turning them around and putting them in the right perspective and making them applicable to restoring a merited greatness instead of destroying it.
And you're full of good news today or tonight, Michael. That's good to hear. Just so our audience understands. So basically what's happened is the federal government has given untold billions of dollars to these NGOs, non-government organizations, who in turn have used that money to facilitate the invasion of America. Prepaid debit cards. Our friend Sheriff Mark Lamb, almost a year ago to the day, announced that they were intercepting these invaders that had prepaid debit cards with $5,000 to $10,000 on them. Mm-hmm. And the legacy media absolutely roasted Mark. And lo and behold, about a month later, they were like, yeah, actually, that's happening. So the point I'm trying to make for our audience is that this money basically becomes dark money used against us. And if there are certain things that we cannot do with government agencies, that what I heard, Michael, was basically we would fund some NGOs that are on our side for a change, and that would help reverse the invasion. One more question on the manpower, and then I've got a bigger question for both of you with regards to FTO designations, foreign terrorist organizations. But before that, one other thing, Michael, that I heard was that cops who have a badge and a gun that are behind a desk currently, I heard they would be asked to go to the front lines, like get off the desk, and that we would contract out those administrative positions to non-law enforcement people. Is that part of the plan? And you know, do you think that'll significantly assist the manpower shortage?
Yes, that is part of the plan, but that's a smaller portion of the plan. Let me tell you what's a bigger portion of the plan. Quite frankly, there are a lot, and we're talking about two different categories here. We're talking about veterans of special ops, and we're talking about veterans of law enforcement who just couldn't take it anymore, got out, but are itching, got a trigger itch to get back into the fray because they realize how far we've come and just how perilous it is before we lose this country. And so, quite frankly, part of that strategy is going to be to say, look, you were done wrong, you were kicked out, you were moved, frustrated, whatever it was. Now's your time to go on ahead and get back in, and let's go make things right. You're going to see a lot of those organizations come back now. A lot of veterans, a lot of veterans of law enforcement that are perhaps in a different career now, but are saying, you know what, I'll put my career on hold. I'll give you 4 more years. I'll give you 8 more years. Let's go in. Let's clean this country up once and for all.
So I'm pretty sure that JJ would be all over that if he was given the opportunity.
JJ, we're gonna put JJ in charge of at least a divisional recruitment.
Absolutely.
Not to put any pressure on you, JJ, but at least a division, all right?
Nah, just at least the division. But you know, Michael, I want to say this that and I don't know how you feel. Sometimes that I'm getting interviewed and I do these I'm talking about this show, but other podcasts and it's almost as if, I mean, I speak the same way as I do now, and the hosts are just like, what in the hell are you talking about, right? It is so good to speak to another individual like yourself that is saying and verbalizing it as like I am. So because there's power and strength, right? Because the moment,
no question,
there's times where I say things and I'm giving speeches and I'm like internally thinking, oh God, here we go. I got to say this out loud. And people are shocked, but they shouldn't be shocked, but they are, because they have been so we're so infantile in the way that we think, in the way that we speak. And when you are talking about the evil of cartels, the evil of narcotics, the evil of raping children to death, that there is no other way to confront that evil except to go in with your firearm out of your holster, jamming it right in their forehead and blowing their head right off. That's it. America, you want to be safe, and you want to go back to your watching Desperate Housewives of Atlanta and the Congo and Santa Barbara. You want to do all that? Then you need to turn men like me and Michael and Chris and allow us to go and jam that gun right in their forehead and blow their head off. I know that scares you because you're thinking, oh my God, that's too much power. No, men like us will put our gun back in our holster when it's done, and we'll go about our life the way it was. But if you do not allow us to do this, our country's going to go tumbling down into this rat hole where men like us are going to have to go and do it ourselves. And that's where it's going to get extremely, extremely uncomfortable, because there's going to be millions of people that are going to be caught in the crossfire. So you either wake up, America, and allow the real men to take your country back, or you're going to continue to be raped and murdered at
No
nauseam
question.
by these savages. You pick.
You know,
It's your choice, America.
I give them the illustration. Every time we've done it a different way, whether it's Vietnam or anything else, when we say we're going to control you, we're going to tempt you, we're going to tell you what you can and can't do, how to perform the mission, it has never, ever produced positive results.
Nope.
You have to learn from history. You want safety, you want security, you want a prosperous country. Get out of the way, let us do our job, and we'll make sure we deliver for you.
And look at World War II. Look how we went in and just demolished everything. That when you're talking about evil, you have to make evil submit. Like,
Correct.
Take a knee, evil, kneel before me, and then now I'm going to punish you. And now everyone else, that all the others, because here's the thing that no one wants to understand. There's millions of savages in America that are Americans. That
Correct.
I'm not talking about the foreign savages, just the rapists, murderers, pedophiles by the millions, not hundreds of thousands, by the millions. What keeps them from acting on their savage desires are men like us. That's it.
Exactly.
That is it. But when
Exactly.
you feminize us men and you bring us down to the lowest level and say we're just like women and we're talking about our feelings, guess what happens? Those savages they instinctively feel it. They're like, oh, I can do it. I can get away with this. And they do it. They raped a child because why? Because there's no punishment. There's no who's going to catch me. Who's going to catch me raping children? Oh, you caught me? What are you going to do me? 7 years? Okay, I'll do 7 years.
You see it every day, JJ. Look at the subways. Nobody steps in anymore to interfere.
Because they're cowards.
They're cowards. And this is what we have now. And this is the results. That's why I think America is finally realizing they don't want to live this way anymore. Great. Move out of the way. We're going to handle it for you.
You know, you're great, Michael. I love that statement, and I use that too. If you are such a coward, or you're just a liberal nut job, get out of my way. Because I'm going to tell you, when guys like us go into the battlefield and you're in our way, we're just going to take you out. It's just the way it's going to run you over. We're going to run you over, and if you get hurt and can survive, great. I'm happy for you. But if you get slaughtered in the process, I don't care. And here's the thing you need to know too. If you're a fence straddler, do you know who's probably going to kill you way before I even get there? The savages. They're going to see you as the weak-kneed, impotent beta male you are, and they're just going to go, why not? I'm going to take everything he has. In fact, I'm going to rape your wife, and you're going to watch me. And then you're going to feed me, and then I'll kill you. You don't think that's happening right now in America? Dear God, I could go ad nauseum of the number of women and children that have been raped, strangled, and killed in America in the last couple weeks. Because why? Think of this. What if I told you in 1970s and 1980s, hey, you know what? We're going to open our borders and we're going to allow savages, men, 60 to 70% single adult military age men from savage nations. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to come in and rape all the women, American women, and kill our children. And you know what? I know you don't believe me, but I'm going to tell you another thing that's going to happen. All the men, they're going to do nothing. Our fathers and grandfathers would say, if that's going to happen, I'm going to beat your ass right now.
Exactly.
But that's what's happened. We're a gutless group of men. Gutless.
Couple quick comments and questions. You want to talk savage? I'm sure y'all have seen the stories on these rape gangs in Great Britain that's been going on for 20 years. And I know you guys knew about it before it exploded in the news cycle. But some of these Pakistani rape gangs have been taking pumps and inserting them into children's anuses so that more than one person can rape these children at the same time. You want to talk savage? That's savage. I mean, it's just incomprehensible. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all.
They're
JJ.
here though, Chris. They're here.
Yeah,
they are.
You have 195 nations on planet Earth. 180 of them are in the rest out of the United States Border Patrol. Every savage you can imagine is here. They're already here, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
That's why my comment is to FEMA. You got extra cash, invested in body bags. There's going to be an awful lot of them going to be needed because we will take no prisoners.
That's more good news. Michael, another quick question, and you kind of touched on it briefly, but I was also told that to supplement, augment, manpower, that vets former law enforcement and currently licensed armed security guards would be recruited. You touched on half of that. Are all those in play?
All those are in play, and there's another aspect that's in play. You know, I've said this before. Every sheriff's department, most police agencies in every state, most states especially, have either militia units, either have posses or deputized or police reserve. We're encouraging every American, male, female, especially the males, that look, is it too much to ask for you to donate 5 to 10 hours a month to become certified and to become trained as reserve officers, as reserve deputies, as militia members? Because quite frankly, all hands need to be on deck. We're going to need every one of you. And let's get out there and let's do this job, gentlemen, and get it done quickly and make America safe once again.
Do either one of you know General Vallely, Paul Vallely?
No, I don't.
Yes.
So, and Michael knows this, but I'll share it with you, JJ, and the rest of the audience. So he was a ranger, and then he did 3 deployments to Vietnam, and then he ended up rising quickly through the ranks. He was an advisor to multiple presidents, including Trump. He actually wrote a paper, and I'm sure Michael's familiar with this, basically encouraging what Michael just said, where sheriffs have this augmentation, and I'm trying to remember what he called them, patriot something or other. And
Correct.
He's been promoting that idea now for at least 18 months. And I can see some sheriffs, like the good sheriffs, like Sheriff Grady Judd, I can see him adopting that, and some other sheriffs, maybe not so much. But I wanted to speak to one quick thing on the insanity that you guys were describing. My brother-in-law, 30-year Seminole County sheriff, at the same time, he was a Navy intel, and he ran the desk for Bay Ron for years. So that the sheriff's office let him go to DC to run this. Well, when he took over the desk for Bay Ron, one of the qualifications was he actually had to go over there in the midst of all the stuff that was going on in the global war on terror. And he had been SWAT team before he was CSI, blah, blah, blah. And they were doing training over there. And they go into a room, and there's a bad guy, points a gun at him, and he shoots him in a drill, like not for real. Right. And his instructor said, no, you're not a cop over here. You can't do that here. You're not allowed to shoot at them until they shoot at you. And Bob's like, I've spent years working on a SWAT team. Somebody points a gun at me, I'm going to kill them. And that's all there is to it. And they said, well, you're not a very good fit because these are our rules. And when Bob was telling me this, he was telling me that our snipers, after they took out a bad guy, the very first thing they had to do when they got back to base was talk to an attorney and lay everything out for an attorney.
Yep.
And then the next thing is, I can't remember what the movie was, but some movie came on, and I see this guy jumping out of a chopper in Vietnam. It was real footage, a documentary, and he's carrying an AK-47. So I took a picture and I sent it off to one of my buddies, and I said, am I missing something, or did we ever, issue AK-47s to our troops, especially in Vietnam? He said, no, that's so that they don't have to fill out the paperwork. I said, what do you mean? He said, we did that all the time in Iraq. We checked out our AR and we checked out our ammo. And we always came back with everything that we left with, because we grabbed AK-47s from the bad guys and used them to shoot them. That way we didn't have to answer to the insanity. So
Exactly.
Final question. I know you guys are tight on time. Have any of these terrorist organizations, and when I say terrorist, I mean like Sinaloa Cartel, TDA, I know Hezbollah has been, but have we declared any of them foreign terrorist organizations in the past? And what is the gain that we get from that? Like, what does it do for our law enforcement and military when we say these guys are now an FTO?
It sets a whole different set of resources to go after them.
Yeah.
And that's the key. And quite frankly, to answer your first question, I don't recall us ever designating anybody that we're supposed to have designated.
Nope.
And that's even including under Republican administrations. See, this is where we talked about just a minute ago. It's time to use the playbooks that work. I don't care whether they're Republican or Democrat. And quite frankly, that playbook works. designate them, use all the resources, military resources we need to do to eradicate them, and we don't have to worry about it down the road, and quit all the BS stuff. That's just one thing that just irritates the heck out of me, is all the paperwork that has to be done, how that you have the rules of engagement. Every time you go to a different mission, you have a different set of rules of engagement. You can't remember from one day to the next which one it is for which mission. You're compromising the very national security that we're supposed to be protecting. You're compromising the men by putting junk in their head they have to remember, instead of learning how to fight, how to win, and how to survive.
Well said. You know, just to kind of pull this to a focal point here, Bill Brown, former Navy SEAL, he's an attorney now. He's close friends with Pete Hegseth. Bill Brown's the one who funded the New York City SEAL swim, where they swim across the Hudson River. He's come on our show several times and brought a whole posse of SEALs with him. And we were talking a couple days ago, and I said, you know what's interesting, without any prior conversation, every time I speak to one of you guys offline before we get ready to go, one word keeps coming up, and that's lethality. And their position is we need Pete Hegseth to clean house and restore lethality in our military, because nothing else matters. If we're not
exactly
lethal,
right,
what are we doing?
Well,
So,
why do you have it? Why do you have a military if you're not going to kill anybody?
right.
Well, you have the military because we need to have transgender surgery, and we had to have the social construct dive into our military. It's insanity. It's like having police officers or border patrol agents that they're females that weigh 110 pounds. That looks great on paper, but when I fall down, I get hurt, I need someone to carry me. 110-pound female is not going to do it. It's
just not going to cut it, is it?
No, there's jobs that men do, and they should be the only ones doing it. Period.
I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I think the problem on the left is and the rhinos as well, is they get mixed up between equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. They're not the same thing.
No,
you're exactly right.
And they conflate the two of those things. But my wife can tell you, anytime I don't watch TV until it's bedtime, and she'll put something on, and anytime there's a show that has the 120-pound girl knocking out the 250-pound guy, I just check out, and she'll say, "You're not interested anymore, are you?" And I said, "No, because this is fantasy world stuff."
Exactly.
And then you see videos of altercations in public where some woman is trying to intervene while two big guys are going toe to toe, and the girl ends up getting hurt because she watches Netflix and thinks that, you know, she can directly step into that role. But I've mentioned this before in SDN. You'll get a kick out of this, JJ. I hate watching the undercard at pro boxing matches, because you got featherweights, lightweights. It always goes the distance. They don't have enough power to knock each other out.
Right.
You've got to get into the light heavyweights, middleweights sometimes to see the knockout punches, right? So what on earth makes a 110 or 120-pound person, whether they're male or female, think that they're going to knock out a 250, 300-pound guy? I mean, we actually have some people in our audience who very accomplished martial artists, and some of them are women who are in that 110, 120-pound range, and they'll be the first ones to tell you, I can't knock out a 250-pound guy.
No,
Correct.
It's not going to happen. And to go to dovetail with that, and to say the truth, what factually needs to happen, we are the big lion on the plains in Africa, and we have allowed all the hyenas and all the other animals to destroy everything that I have, knowing that all I have to do is rise up and I can devour all of you. All of you. America needs to start to act like that. Do what Donald Trump said. He went into the Middle East and he told them, we're going to remove ourselves from all of your nations. However, if you harm one American, I'm going to devastate you. And you know what? They went, that's a deal. I'll live with that. Just get out. Get out of my countries, and we won't do anything to you. But if you do, understand we're going to devour you. That's how we need to flex our muscle in the United States now. I don't want to hear about we can't have military in America. Shut up. You know what, Donald Trump, I hope he does? I hope he just says, shut up, and just does it. And then keeps telling them, go ahead, sue me, whatever. Go on, do it. And just keep blowing.
He'll let somebody else do that, JJ, but that will get done.
I'm the biggest Trump supporter. I believe that God has chosen him. He is chosen to lead us. But I believe God needs him to have multiple lieutenants and foot soldiers to follow through and do what he needs to do. And that's us. Correct. And we have to give him that support. We cannot throw that on a man. That Herculean effort that needs to happen, it can't be done by one man. He has to have a multitude of people around him fixing decades, maybe 100+ years of treason against America.
before we wrap up this first chapter of tonight's episode and move into the second chapter, I'm a firm believer we're all exactly where we're supposed to be at any particular point in time. And I personally believe that JJ, you and Michael will have a long-lasting friendship, and that the fact that you two were introduced to each other, only good stuff can come out of it as far as our country's concerned.
Thank you, Chris. I agree.
Well, you know what? It makes me proud to just sit back and listen to the two of you. It's good to see people with passion, intelligence, and the wherewithal to tackle this stuff instead of, like you said, JJ, the pablum fed bullshit. JJ, this is treason.com, $9.99. You get both of your documentaries on child sex trafficking, but you have a book coming out as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up my second book. It's called Treason. It's all about what Joe Biden has done from the day he took office until the day he left. And it's going to lay it out: who, what, why, and how, and everything that happened. And I'm almost finished it. Just got to get to my editor and come back to me, and then I self-publish it, so I won't be censored again. But I'm excited about it coming out. But it's my way. But I'll be very honest with you. I sit up at night and I write and I write and I write. And there's times where I step back and I'm in amazement, absolute astonishment of how efficient and successful the left has been, what they have been able to accomplish. I have to tip my hat to them and say, hey, I hate you. You are my enemy. I believe that you are Satan incarnate, but you guys have it together, and you have done what Republicans could only dream about doing. You have done. I applaud you.
That's a very astute comment, JJ. We frequently on SDN say, you know, we despise Obama and Brennan and all those people, but they are significant adversaries. They are not stupid. We can't treat them as being stupid. We have to treat them as the significant adversary that they are. Michael, so investusa.org, and invest doesn't mean investing money. It means in a vest. So I want to make sure that our audience is clear on this. This is a nonprofit. People can donate to your organization. You take that money and you have the best of the best for body panels, titanium, and you ship them out and give them away to police forces for free so that our law enforcement agents have the best protection out there. This is a great deal for everybody. So if somebody donates to you, they get to claim it as a charity, and you get to give the gift of the ultimate protection to our frontline guys. Did I miss anything in that?
No, you hit everything right on key. I want to put in one other little quick thing, Chris. If they go to our website, they can actually make a donation to purchase the body armor that we give to these officers, and we'll send them a free copy of my book, you know, Truth, Lies, and Control, which ties right in with what JJ, you're talking about what happened in the administration. I talk about how we got up to the administration, so it will pair very, very, very appropriately between the two of us.
Good. Man, just amazing. Michael, I can't wait to see you in Vegas. I'm glad that you're going to SHOT Show. So we'll have you back on Survival Dispatch News when we're out there together. And JJ,
forward to it.
Let me know when your book's ready to drop, and we'll have you back on again to talk to our audience. I'd like to actually buy a couple that we can give away to some people in our audience as well.
Sure.
Just help spread the word a little bit. But I've got a short message from one of our sponsors. Then I will be back solo for chapter 2. Guys, I can't thank you enough for everything. I can't thank you enough for, you know what? There's comments in the chat that are the same as how I've been feeling this entire hour and 10 minutes, that thank God we have guys like you on our side. I mean,
well, we're thankful for you, Chris, and you're going to play a vital role because, quite frankly, we can't turn America around unless we can get the truth into the ears of the American people, and you're a vital part of that.
Well, I appreciate that very much, Michael, and can't wait to see you all again. All right.
Thank you, Chris. Very nice to meet you, Michael. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
The Sawyer Mini is the most versatile personal filtration system available. It's a perfect solution for backpacking, hiking, hunting, fishing, scouting, international travel, and emergency preparedness. At a mere 2 ounces, the Mini fits in the palm of your hand and can filter up to 100,000 gallons of water from any freshwater lake, river, or stream. The Sawyer Mini has a 0.1 micron absolute pore size. It was tested to 10 million parts of bacteria and 1 million parts of protozoa without a single breakthrough. This is the highest level filters can be tested to, so we're confident these are the highest rates of filtration available.
All right. So technically we would be ready for chapter 2 at this particular point in time, but talk about big shoes to fill after having JJ and Michael on there. Truly just awesome guys, awesome Americans. So anybody who downloaded the brief tonight from our patreon.com/survival dispatch, it's free. It has all the links to everything that we normally bring up and discuss as we go through it. So I actually have, I want to say, around a dozen stories that are still related to the first chapter before we even get into the second chapter. And tonight, the second chapter also is going to talk a little bit more with regards to the fires in California. We have hard evidence now that some of those fires were indeed arson, and were arson meaning fires lit by gangs from South and Central America. So the first one I'm going to pull up, and I'll go through this relatively quickly because I don't have anybody with me to engage in conversation, but I had this originally pulled up thinking that when we were discussing child sex trafficking with JJ, I was just going to make the point that you can do a quick search and every single day you will find examples of child sex trafficking. When Victor Avila and JJ clued me in earlier in 2024 that we're the world leader in child sex trafficking, it was a real eye opener. And of course, JJ reiterated that tonight. But if you want to read all of these stories, I mean, make sure you've got a solid stomach, by the way, before you read some of this stuff. Just go download the brief. So here's another one that's even worse. Oops. Another one that's even worse. Give me 2 seconds here. I accidentally closed the wrong tab. We still need a producer for Survival Dispatch News, by the way, in case anybody wants to volunteer, meaning somebody to pull all the assets up as we go through them. So let me do this again. This one here is very germane to the conversation that we have with JJ and Michael tonight. So this illegal invader had been deported 6 times, and he was just arrested again today in Alabama, attempting to kidnap a teen. This border debacle, Mayorkas opening up the border, is treason of the highest level, and this shouldn't be happening at all, let alone 6-7 times. Next one up this is a video actually from prior to the election, but it details Donald Trump's new policies that he plans to put in effect. I'm not going to play the video because I know we're running long on time already, but essentially what comes out of this is his new border crime policies. 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for anyone guilty of human smuggling, mandatory life sentence for anyone guilty of child trafficking, death penalty for anyone guilty of sex trafficking, death penalty on major drug dealers and traffickers. So we're talking a radically different paradigm that the bad guys are going to face as a result of this. Now, here's another interesting one. So Wagner mercenary captured while attempting to cross river on the Mexican border into Texas, armed with a drone, 2 passports, and $4,000 cash. This actually happened a couple of weeks ago, and they tried to keep a lid on it, and it just hit the news cycle today. So just so everybody's clear, the Wagner mercenary group, this is call it a Russian equivalent to our Blackwater. So basically for hire military spec ops grade guys. I'm going to play the video because this guy is a prime example of what we're allowing across the border that has the training, the money, and the wherewithal to engage in massive terrorist attacks here in the homeland.
Patrol arrested a former Russian mercenary on Saturday when he waded across the Rio Grande near Roma. This is an NBC 23 exclusive report. A federal prosecutor told a judge on Tuesday this defendant has no immigration or criminal history. However, he admitted moments ago on the record that he is a former mercenary. This defendant crossed into the United States with 2 passports, one from Kazakhstan and one from Russia. The defendant was also in possession of a drone in his backpack, and he admitted when interviewed to being a member of the Wagner Group. Now, the Wagner Group is a paramilitary organization affiliated with the Russian government and has been sanctioned by the United States. The organization has been involved in mass executions, child rape, and other crimes in Africa, and it has also participated in the invasion of Ukraine. It's not clear if Praliev did for Wagner what he did or why he crossed the border or what he planned to do with that drone. Praliev is charged with illegally crossing the border, a federal misdemeanor. A judge sentenced him to time served. Now, Praliev, though, is unlikely to be released. He'll probably remain in federal custody until he is deported.
So just more unsavory people entering our country. And here's a larger write-up on the part of Laura Loomer on this particular topic. Russian mercenary who worked for Wagner Group, and it's got a W, so I can't help it. I got to say Wagner. I know it's pronounced Wagner, I guess, in Russian. Crossed over U.S. border with drone. Here's a story that is barely getting any attention. Did you know that on Saturday, January the 4th, Border Patrol arrested a former Russian mercenary named Timur Pralev when he illegally crossed the Rio Grande? Timur Pralev, a citizen of Kazakhstan, was caught carrying 2 passports, a drone, $4,000. The defendant was also in possession of a drone in his backpack when he crossed into the United States, and he admitted when interviewed to being a member of the Wagner Group. Assistant U.S. Attorney Amanda McColgan said on Tuesday when Pralev appeared before a judge at the federal courthouse in McAllen, Texas, the U.S. Treasury Department considers the Wagner Group to be a criminal organization. His punishment: time served and a $10 fee. And you wonder why they were trying to keep this out of the public eye. I mean, I don't even know what to add to that. So anybody who says you can't arrest climate change, you sure can, because as Governor Newsom and the rest of his cronies are trying to tell everybody, these fires in California are the result of climate change. I give you and in the front on the right hand side of the picture, a man who is climate change, because that's the guy who set the fires in one particular area. And this yellow bottle that you see here is actually a butane torch, that he was using to set fires. So I already alluded to this. There are gangs in LA deliberately starting fires so that people evacuate and then rob their homes. This is happening at a large scale, at least 100 robbers, likely the Chilean crime syndicate. Now, I think the reason that this guy mentioned the Chilean crime syndicate is because they have been the #1 offender for what is called burglary tourism. So they come into the country, they stake out wealthy individuals, and then they hit those homes, steal all kinds of high value stuff, jewelry, etc., and then they take it back to Chile. So their goal is not to stay here in America. Their goal is to come to America. Their goal is to come into America, rob wealthy Americans, take the fruits of those labors back to Chile and sell them on the black market there. We first reported on this almost 2 years ago on Survival Dispatch News. Next one up, Los Angeles arsonist is arrested for starting Kenneth Fire. So that's the one that they got the guy on. In Celebrity Enclave, Calabasas, as death toll hits 10. So this was late last night. And at that point in time, it was a 1,000-acre fire. I'm not sure what the current number is, but I'd hazard to guess that it's much more than 1,000 acres at this point in time. Last I heard, there's still zero containment as far as any of the fires. They've got 5 fires burning. Zero containment means they haven't stopped the spread of any of them. Next one up, this is the same guy, the person that they arrested. There's additional videos, and I think they're in the brief, and I think we have them queued up for tonight, that show people starting fires in other areas and not just this particular fire. This gentleman named Climate Change. Yes, here we go. So actually, wait a minute. This is the guy that they arrested. This is awesome. Residents of Woodland Hills, California, saw a man with a yellow butane torch attempting to set fires, so they detained him until police could arrive and arrest him. 15-second video. So pretty awesome that those citizens took the initiative and got involved. Next one up. Yeah. So here's the funny picture. breaking, police have arrested climate change. From now forward, this guy shall be known as climate change. All right. So while there hasn't been much said with regards to what's going on here in Florida, the Biden flights have continued. So he's averaging around 300,000 illegals being flown into the country to bypass ports of entry. And most of those 300,000 each month are being dropped right here in Florida. Texas would be number 2. He's dropped millions of them on us here. But we'll also have issues with boats of illegals coming in. And we don't have any big storms going on right now. But what these guys like to do is come in inclement weather so they can kind of hide and know that law enforcement, Coast Guard's not out in big numbers when there's bad weather. Next one up here. Hundreds of looters invade Palisades neighborhood. Cars pull up, doors open, and groups of men run up the doors of evacuated houses. There were 100 people who came up on scooters and were trying to get into any and all houses. 1 minute, 3-second video.
As I was getting my whole family out, all you have in your mind is just you're in survival mode at that point. I saw men coming into our neighborhoods. Police confirmed it. She had this to say. Take a listen.
It was wild. We just started seeing all these cars pull up, doors open, and groups of men running up our street, going up to the doors of these houses. And we weren't sure what was going on. I'm thinking, are these people here to help my neighbors? I hope so. And I left. And then my husband talked to the police and said, what are those guys doing? These guys don't live here. Get them out. My next door neighbor said, his quote, there were like 100 people that came up on scooters and were trying to get into any and all houses on the street.
And did you physically see police officers stopping them?
I didn't, but it's not to say that they weren't. It was so incredibly chaotic, and I was so worried about my big family and getting them out of our old tinderbox of a house that I was just focused on them first.
Absolutely crazy. This stuff's going on. Moving on to the next story. National Guard deployed to protect Los Angeles fire zones from looting. So a little bit of good news there. At least law enforcement is being augmented by the National Guard. And next one up here, I think the number is going to be higher than this, but LA wildfires could cost up to $150 billion, AccuWeather warns. 2 days ago, somebody threw out a number saying that they took all the real estate in a particular area that had been burned up and did calculations on it. And they were actually $75 billion in damage for that one fire up 2 days ago, right? So it's entirely possible this number could end up much higher than $150 billion in damage, which is why it's been on the radar for Al-Qaeda and ISIS for many years to try to destroy parts of America by lighting fires here, wildfires. All right. So Adam Carolla tells those affected by LA wildfires that you asked for it by voting for Democrats. 1 minute, 10-second video.
Gavin Newsom, got recalled essentially, and he still won. We had a choice between Rick Caruso, a sort of qualified, able-bodied businessman, for mayor. We ended up with Karen Bass. Like, we sort of get what we deserve. And I do want to say to all the people in Malibu, very blue, Palisades, very blue, Santa Monica, very blue. You guys like all this. This is who you voted for these people. You're sitting around right now going, how come the fire hydrants don't work? Where's the mayor? Why is she out of the country? What's going on with the aqueducts? You voted for these people. This is who you voted for. You live in Santa Monica. You live in these places. This is how you roll. This is what you agree with. You think it's more important to have a woman of color versus a qualified person. You think it's more important to have a lesbian running the fire department than a qualified person. Well, you asked for it. You got it. Now your house is on fire.
Insanity. I don't know how else to address it or comment on it. So moving along to the next one. Just in, police say local citizens were the ones who detained the alleged arsonist who set the Kenneth fire tonight in LA area. we've already covered this, so I won't bore you with another 28-second video. Next one, Gavin Newsom is a bald-faced, the term is actually B-A-L-D, not B-O, but a bald-faced liar. Newsom, I'm literally talking to the president right now. Citizen, can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it. Newsom, I'm sorry, I've tried him 5 times. He wasn't even on the phone with him. He was lying. Why is the president not taking your call? He made up this story about cell phone towers. 1 minute, 45-second video. Probably won't play it in its entirety, but enough to get the gist.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through.
Why?
I'm talking to the president right now. Well, actually, it just hasn't gone through 5 times. The guy is a pathological liar. I mean, unbelievable. Moving on to the next one. Holy crap. LAFD reportedly canceled their annual fire hydrant testing a few weeks ago, citing fiscal challenges. But they have enough money for LAFD, DEI Bureau, and DEI Chief. And I think somewhere in tonight's sit rep, there's some numbers put to this. The 3 top people I want to say involved in the fire department, the top one's getting paid something like $750,000 a year. The next one's somewhere around $450,000, $500,000 a year. And I don't remember what the third one's at, but we're talking like very, very large sums of money. So speaking of the LA government, 3-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm just going to play enough that y'all get the gist of this. Who is Mayor Karen Bass? Now, does it all make sense? Her background is almost unbelievable. She's clearly not a high IQ person, but wait until you hear about her background if you have not heard this already.
November 7, 1983. Remember this date, but first, let me introduce you to Karen Bass. Back in the 1970s, community activist Karen Bass went on at least 15 trips to Cuba, many with a group known as the Venceremos Brigade, a Marxist group started by the Castro regime to subvert American interests, weaken democracies, and spread communism around the world. Founded in 1969, the Venceremos Brigade organized trips to Cuba every year for half a century. They attracted the most radicalized and delusional segments of the American left, including overtly Maoist and pro-Soviet communist groups. In fact, a Los Angeles police investigator who infiltrated the group testified to Congress saying that to be a member of the brigade, you had to be confirmed as a Marxist-Leninist, as a brigadista, and then moving up the ranks to organizer for the Venceremos Brigade. Karen Bass visited Cuba every 6 months. Their mission? To radicalize young, impressionable American leftists in terrorist tactics and guerrilla warfare. Members of the Venceremos Brigade were even taught how to make bombs.
Jesus Christ!
Karen Bass admits, on her many pilgrimages to Cuba, she went to see Fidel Castro speak several times, even calling him charismatic, and upon his death, praised him, saying, "The passing of Commandant en Jefe is a great loss."
So how crazy is that the mayor of LA is essentially been a long-term wannabe communist Marxist. That's you can't make this stuff up. Moving on, In-N-Out Burger is offering free meals to firefighters at select locations. Good for them. Very nice of them. Next one from Cat Turd. Don't you just hate it when climate change hires a fire chief based on pronouns, gives away fire equipment to Ukraine, mismanages forests, tears down dams, refuses to fill existing water reservoirs, cancels fire insurance, and lays off firefighters for refusing a vaccine? Gotta be careful what I say there. The YouTube gods will throw us another strike, and we're already working 2 of them off. Next one up, 2 Super Scooper planes were deployed to help fight the fires. One was hit by a drone and is now out of service. Does the U.S. not have firefighting planes? Why do we have to get these planes from Canada, and why only 2 of them? 1 minute, 39-second video. I'll play enough that you get the gist of it, but probably not the whole thing.
At work. This was not good. This is a super scooper, which we rent from the folks in Canada, in Quebec, which is why you're about to see that. See that wing right there? It was hit by a drone, and the drone crashed and collapsed. And because the drone hit it, it ended up tearing a hole in the wing. The plane was able to land safely, as you see there, pilot able to get out okay, but because of that, they can't fly it, at least not right now. So a plane that could be helpful to doing water drops, some 6 tons of water at a time, is now grounded because somebody was illegally flying a drone. And a reminder that it is a felony to fly a drone unauthorized in a fire zone.
So if Velcro's still with us in one of the chats, I would love to hear your opinion. He's an aviation expert, by the way. I'd love to hear your opinion as to why we're getting these from Canada. Why does California not own these types of planes? And why are there only 2? That seems like a very small number. I don't know if it was budget cuts or what. Velcro, if you're listening as well, anything that speaks to the quality of these planes versus maybe other options. I don't know if these are run-of-the-mill, top of the line or not. And I'll keep an eye on the chat if you do pop up, and we'll share it with everybody. Next one up. Filmmaker and author Justine Bateman has a message for the leaders of California. If you can't cover the basics, get out. You are useless to us. You are a liability, and you have destroyed people's lives because you didn't do your job. You should resign out of shame. 4 minute, 25-second video, only going to play part of it.
I'm pretty pissed, and I think a lot of people in Los Angeles are pissed. You know, if you are going to run a city or run a state, you have to take care of the basics, and that's make sure that your fire and your police department are well funded. Make sure that you have, not only you have plans if there are emergencies in your area, you've rehearsed them, but also you have plans to mitigate the problems that you know are going to happen in that area. And for us, it's fire, earthquake, rain, and consequent mudslides. And if you're not doing everything you can to take care of those problems if they arise, then get out. You are useless to us. All those other things, all the other programs like Head Start and all of that, that's great for the community, that's after. If you can't cover the basics, get out of our city. You are useless to us. You are a liability, and you have destroyed people's lives because you didn't do your job. You didn't do what you were hired for. You didn't do what we pay you for, and you should resign out of shame and responsibility for the people whose lives you've destroyed right now.
So I can't remember the TV show, but when I was younger, I want to say 70s, maybe 80s, she was in a sitcom. I just can't recall what the name of it was. I'm sure one of you in the audience will pick up on it. Next one up, the Malibu waterfront, one of the most expensive properties in the United States, has largely disappeared. 2 minute, 15-second video, only going to play part of it. I'm going to turn the sound off for this one. It's pretty annoying. Unbelievable damage. I've ridden my motorcycle up and down the Pacific, all the way from beginning to end, both directions. This is just unbelievable damage. Looks like something out of a war zone to me. All right, next one up. The Victory Trailhead in Los Angeles, now a crime scene with one person in custody as the Kenneth fire spirals out of control, according to News Nation. So we've already covered this earlier. We'll skip this video. Gavin Newsom must resign. Pardon me. You are fired. Pass it on. 1 minute, 10-second video. I'll just play part of it.
Nothing in there. Totally burned. Steering wheel gone. Nothing. Motor, I'm assuming, doesn't work anymore, of course. But it's pretty bad. You know, I don't even have a mask, but shit. I think I'm just gonna.
Like I said, it looks like a war zone. Next one up, we've already reported on the Chilean gangs, but I put this up because of John Rocker's comment. And for all y'all who don't know who John Rocker is, he was a very outspoken professional pitcher, Major League Baseball. And he was maligned many years ago for saying that riding the subway in New York was, riding it with a bunch of terrorists from Beirut. And he was probably one of the first early people canceled. He's back with a vengeance. So interesting comment. And then Derek follows it up. So everything is full circle. Safe to say our country is officially under attack? ? Derek Evans, I truly think we are at this point. So this is kind of vaguely touches on the topic that we discussed last night, which was Al-Qaeda and ISIS stated intentions for many years now to set fires like this to do economic damage to us. There's no proof of that, as we mentioned last night, that that's in play here, but we now have arson involved, number one. Number two, all of the Middle Eastern terrorist organizations are tied very tightly to the cartels and Latin gangs. So the person assumed to be from Chile who set this particular fire may very well have some connection. I'm sure we'll find out all in good time. All right, next one up from Libs of TikTok. She's been absolutely slaughtered by the legacy media over the years because she speaks the truth. So Forbes just accused me of hate speech. Can the author, and then it's got the guy's handle, please define hate speech being, as he accused me of that without elaborating. So the article on Forbes, Libs of TikTok, a right-wing account that has faced frequent suspensions on social media for hate speech, has made various posts targeting Crowley, including posts pointing out her attendance at LGBTQ pride parades, garnering millions of views and spurring criticism of the fire chief. Next one up. So Ryan Mattis. So this is JJ Carrell's business partner, by the way. They did the two documentaries on child sex trafficking. This is Treason. 8-second video. I may actually play this a couple times because Ryan has a valid question and I have not seen anybody. Oh, hold on a second. I reloaded this page just before we got to it, and there's a community note attached to it. The video is AI and has been cropped to hide that fact. At the beginning of the original, look at the house outside the window on the left. Okay, so this is, somebody recently brought this up on Survival Dispatch News. We're very, very close to the point where AI is going to be indistinguishable from the real deal. Glad to see somebody caught this, because check this out. This is a crazy video. Thank goodness it's not true. So mystery solved. Blame it on AI. I'm glad that the community updated that. Next one up, Trump on Canada. We do not need their fuel or energy or oil or gas. We don't need anything. They have 47-second video.
We don't need Canada for that. We don't need Canada for lumber because we have big forests that we have, not utilized. In some cases, they're protected, which I can take that protection off. And you take down a tree and you grow a better tree. That's, pretty common. But we don't need anything. We don't need their fuel. We don't need their energy. We don't need their oil and gas. We don't need anything that they have. And I said to Trudeau, I said, why are we subsidizing you $200 and $250 billion a year? He said, I really don't know. And I said, well, I don't know either. I said, what would happen to Canada if we didn't? He said, Canada would be obliterated if that happened. I said, then Canada should be a 51st state.
So a little bit more insight on Donald Trump's conversations with the Canadians there. All right, so it looks like we have a response from our buddy Velcro here. Let me just pull this up quickly. All right, from Velcro. So, by the way, just so you all know, this guy is not just an expert on airplanes. He's has a huge collection. He's bought tons of airplanes over the years, military grade stuff. His entire family really deep into the aircraft industry. He's a walking oracle of knowledge on these things. So from Velcro, the Super Scooper planes are rented from Canada because the Canadians refuse to sell them. They want to have a monopoly, and they have it. Wow. I can't thank you enough for sharing that information. I did not know that. And I'm sure lots of other Americans are not aware of that either. That would certainly explain it. Thank you. Next one up, Islamic terror group banned in most Arab nations and vowing to defeat U.S. to hold annual meeting in Canada. So much for becoming our 51st state, a designated terror group. Hizb ut-Tahrir, something like that, plans to host its annual Islamic Supremacy Conference in Mississauga, Ontario on January 18th, according to the Post-Millennial. The event focused on eliminating obstacles, delaying the return of a global Islamic caliphate, was first reported by the Western Standard. So this is not a surprise to people who've been paying attention. There are multiple bad actors from Muslim terrorist organizations and countries in Canada, pardon me. I want to say right around 20 years ago or so, there was a fairly large terror plot that was thankfully intercepted before they made it happen, but they were going to attack nuclear power plants on the east side of Toronto. Would have caused absolute massive chaos and the anarchy. But Canada's a hotbed for this stuff. They're more politically correct even than California is. And if any country is going to allow these shitbags in, it would be Canada, unfortunately. All right, next one up. Criminals are running the show in New York City. A staggering 146% spike in felony assaults by repeat offenders. So key part to this, repeat offenders. So DAs like Alvin Bragg, who's New York, they give these people a slap on the wrist and they kick them out, and they do the same thing. They slap them on the wrist. They kick them out of jail again. And this is what you get. And clearly Alvin Bragg, like the other Soros-backed DAs, has his marching orders to wreck society by allowing criminals to offend and reoffend. 1 minute, 3-second video.
The staggering 146% spike in felony assaults by repeat offenders as top cops blame a broken system. And I'm sick of looking at these animals. They think that they are calling the shots. I don't like the way that person looked at me. I'm going to stab them. I don't like the way I feel right now. I'm going to push this person in front of the train. And Lawler is correct. Seconds before that man was pushed in front of the train by that deranged individual, you clearly see in the video 2 Latino men hopping the train. The new method of operation is they just jump right over the turnstile. You see them jump right over the turnstile, and then they see the man pushed in front of the train, and they know that the video is going to be analyzed. The police are going to be there in seconds, and they bolt out of the station.
Absolute insanity in New York City. Next one up. Trump is going to tell us what was actually going on with the New Jersey drones. 2 minute, 20-second video. I'll just play part of it.
A story that kind of disappeared very suddenly. Do you have any idea whatever happened to the drones?
What happened to drones?
Well, you said that you knew you thought the government knew what was happening with these drones over New Jersey. There were some by Bedminster.
I don't know. They're over Bedminster a lot, so I can imagine. I'm going to give you a report on drones about 1 day into the administration, because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drones. And it's not only with me. Glenn was telling me today that in Virginia, they have drones all over the place too, and nobody's reporting it. I don't know why they're not. Do you want to say something about that?
Just one quick comment, which is we are home to the largest naval base in the world in Quantico, and we house a lot of the SEAL teams and have a huge national security infrastructure. And now for 2 years running, we have had drone incursion over secure airspace, and we still don't know why. And I think that's absolutely unacceptable. And I think President Trump and the new leadership coming in, I think will work diligently to understand who's behind this and what we do in order to stop the digital surveillance of all of our secure infrastructure.
So that's going to be some very interesting information. I'm sure all of us can't wait to hear what he's got to say. Next one up, North African Muslims in Rome warn Italian women, be careful how you leave the house. You must wear hijab. So why am I playing this? Because if we look at other Western countries, it's a harbinger of things to come here in America. In other words, the things that they're going to try and make it happen here. So this invasion, unmitigated invasion of Europe has, as we know, resulted in large-scale rape and assault on women. And they don't even hide their intentions when discussing it with citizens.
Ci fanno soffrire, te lo dico io, che devi stare attenta come se allora non esce a casa con bello, scusa, se te lo dico, non lo devi fare, non è un commento che ti sta a far cazzo,
Non ho capito che hai detto, scusami. Tanto sta in telecamera. Ma non fai.
Unfortunately, I don't understand any Italian, but not funny. So check this out. So we've had these ongoing stories of recent of the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs that have been decimating women and young girls in Great Britain. So Muhammad arrived in London from Pakistan 10 days ago and tried to abuse a 12-year-old British girl because age doesn't matter to him. What punishment does Muhammad deserve? 2-minute, 40-second video. I'll just play part of it.
All right, listen.
You want anything?
Listen to me. What's your name?
Talib.
Talib.
Yes, sir.
You're here to meet a 12-year-old child
You?
to potentially rape a 12-year-old child.
What's that?
You know what rape is?
No, sir, I don't know.
You don't know what rape is?
No.
What was you going to do with this 12-year-old? Look at me.
Yes, sir.
What's the legal age of consent in the UK?
I'm new here, sir.
You're new here.
10 days ago I came, sir.
You came here 10 days ago.
I can show you my
10,
flight tickets.
10 days
sir.
ago.
I can show you my flight tickets even, sir.
Wait, no, you come to...
So again, if you search for this stuff, actually you don't even have to search it, just follow the right people on X. This is a daily occurrence, multiple times. Major incompatibility between our culture, at least British culture and Pakistani Muslims, but definitely American culture as well. So we've got a short video here of our Florida governor, Ron DeSantis. He goes scorched earth on media criticizing Trump over Newsom comments. This is how you handle reporters. A 1-minute, 50-second video. I'll just play part of it.
It's president-elect or a president to be criticizing.
Is it appropriate for people in your industry to try to create division and to try to create narratives anytime these things happen? Now, you're not as interested in doing that because Newsom is a D. If Newsom was a Republican, you guys would go you would have him nailed to the wall for what they're doing over there. And I know we've dealt with it. We just assume in Florida, anytime something happens, it's going to be politicized by the media. So you guys sitting in judgment of Donald Trump, I mean, excuse me, I think your track record of politicizing these things is very, very bad. Okay.
All right, on. So not too impressed with Ron DeSantis essentially kowtowing to Paul Ryan and going against Trump in the primary. I don't know if he'll ever recover 100% from that, but if he had just waited his turn, he has done a great job for us here in Florida, and he probably would have ended up being the Republican candidate in 2028. But again, no idea if that'll happen. Got a very short message from one of our sponsors. Be right back.
AK Flick.
AK Flex. The crazy part about this thing, it can fit in all platforms. This right here is in a 9mm. We running in the 7.62, 5.45, short, even in the Draco, the long 16-inch. AK Flex, baby.
So Flex Industries, one of our sponsors here at Survival Dispatch News, flexindustries.com. That AK trigger will be hitting imminently. It's a legal trigger. You can use discount code SD17, S as in Sam, D as in David, 17 to get 17% off. So we are now into the final chapter with 4 chapters tonight, unlike the usual 3. So we left all the zany stuff, of course, for the end. And this first one doesn't disappoint. Russia is absolutely making fun of the woke Olympics. Hats off to the Russians on that one. Next one up, we have no water, but the pronouns have been deployed. Fear not. There's actually a video down here. I haven't watched it. It's 25 seconds. Let's take a run at this simply because it's from Not the Bee. The scariest part of this woke nonsense is when she admits she's not strong enough to carry a man out of a fire, but it's really the man's fault for being in that situation to begin with.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Oh, I don't know what to say. That stuff speaks for itself. All right, check this one out. Something that's a little funnier. Can Joey Brew sing falsetto? What do you think? This guy's too much. 32-second video. Oh my God. Too freaking funny. Next one up. Here's a little bit of good news. TikTok confirms it will cease operations in the US this month unless the Supreme Court blocks or delays the ban. So essentially TikTok, Chinese owned, harvesting all kinds of information on American citizens, relaying it back to the CCP. This stuff should have been nipped in the bud years ago. Next one up. Hey, it's my parents, and guess what? It worked. I missed the 90s.
Hello, I'm Dr. Richard Shea, here to tell you about my exciting new drug-free treatment for children with attention deficit disorder. This treatment is fast and effective and doesn't use harmful drugs. Watch closely as I apply treatment to the first child.
Sit down and study! Sit down and study! Hey, stop crying and do your schoolwork!
If you would like more information on my bold new treatments, please send away for this free brochure.
So truthful, so truthful. Up next, our friend DC Drano, attorney on the other side of the state in Tampa. Only 11 days until Antifa magically reappears after 4 years of hibernation. Lots of reports to that effect. We shall see if it materializes. And our friend Smokey the Bear, remember, only you can prevent your state from becoming California. Amen to that. And next one up is a Trump cartoon here. So we've got California on the left coast, East Alaska, formerly Canada, Great Again Lakes, Trump land over Greenland, Statue of Melania, and the Gulf of America, and it looks like Mexico renamed South Texas. I don't know if we really want Mexico, to be honest with you. Next one up. Democrats will block you from clearing deadwood, ban you from collecting water, will lay off all your firefighters to pay for DEI nonsense, and will refuse to put eco-arsonists behind bars. And then they'll blame you for the fires they started and made impossible to extinguish because they are psychopaths. Next meme. Inside me, there are two wolves. The one on the left feels horrible for the loss of life and property in LA. The one on the right, you retards voted for this shit. Truth. Next one up, Los Angeles, Hawaii, North Carolina versus Ukraine, partying up on the billions of dollars that we have sent that way. And for our climate hysteria people, 1620 Plymouth Rock at sea level, 1920 Plymouth Rock still at sea level, 2023 Plymouth Rock remains at sea level. And the next one up clearly tells us that we're in the middle of that Venn diagram many times these days when we review the news, and we are in that middle state of what the fuck. By the way, I got a nice email from somebody saying that I cussed and I should never be forgiven for what I've done because I used a vulgar word, blah, blah, blah. I mean, maybe you could grow up, be an adult, and choose what you decide to watch or not. All right, next one up. This is what climate change looks like right here in the middle. Although we arrested climate change earlier today, it didn't quite look like that. But anyway, here is BlackRock looking at all of the newly vacant lots in Los Angeles. Absolutely. And this one, so you've heard me say that she's a very low IQ person, the DEI hire. She was reading off a teleprompter yesterday, and she said that if you need help to visit URL, you can't make this shit up. If you need help, just visit URL. So clearly reading from a teleprompter and unable to process things all by herself. I think she learned how to read a teleprompter from Shit for Brains Biden. And yes, I cussed again. I don't really care. So just queuing up the next round of memes here. Next one up. No water, but look how pretty it is. And next one up. Gavin Newsom. People are literally fleeing. Kids have lost their schools. Communities have lost their churches. Families have lost their homes. Some have even lost their lives. And the president-elect's response is to politicize it. We'll continue to focus on whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Mindy's response, yeah, he's criticizing you dumb, incompetent fuck. No fire abatement, no water in the hydrant, slash funding for emergency services. Whose fault do you think it is, Governor? Because it sure as shit isn't his. Amen to that. Next one up. These are the 9 Democrats who voted against the Lake and Riley Act in the Senate. Absolutely disgusting. Basically says that if an illegal invader commits certain types of crimes, especially against girls, women, that they should be deported from our country. But these Democrats want to keep them amongst us. Next one up from Donald Trump. Governor Gavin Newsom, S-C-U-M, should immediately go to Northern California and open up the water main and let the water flow into his dry, starving, burning state instead of having it go out into the Pacific Ocean. It ought to be done right now. No more excuses from this incompetent governor. It's already far too late. And so that water redirection, by the way, is predicated on saving fish, one species of fish. And so I don't know if they've managed to save the one species of fish, but they have destroyed many American homes and businesses because of their dedication to anti-American policies. There's no other way to describe it. All right, next round of memes coming up. This is fine. And it's kind of apropos for this point in the broadcast. Next one up, Joe Biden. I feel your pain. My son Bo died in a wildfire. I mean, even before he had dementia, he would say ridiculous things like that. And in case you missed it, when he was in LA a couple days ago, they shut down all the airplanes, so they couldn't use airplanes to drop water. And he told them it was just horrible what Los Angeles was going through. But the good news is that he's now a great grandfather. that's where his mind is. Completely nothing to do with the poor people who've lost their homes. From the New York Post, celebrities turn on Dems, blast LA mayor for fire response, ruined our state. That's probably an understatement. From Charlie Kirk, meet the people in charge of LA's fire response, all of them lesbians named Kristen. Kristen Crowley, first LGBTQ fire chief, LA Fire Department, salary $439,722. Christina Kepner, first lesbian assistant chief, LAFD, salary $264,000. Christine Larson, first black lesbian equity bureau. There's one more person in the mix whose pay is $750,000. It may or may not be coming up before we wrap up here. We've already shown that memes. Let me go to the next one. To California. So if y'all are thinking of sending anything, they need water to help put out the fires. LA County, 72 genders, 0 operational fire hydrants. And the next one, here's the British cops. What's the emergency? Someone is telling the truth on X. So I'm sure anybody who's stuck with me this late is up to speed on the fact that the British are emptying their prisons. Over 3,000 hardened criminals have been released to make room for people who posted stuff on social media that either caused anxiety or spoke poorly of mass immigration. Just unbelievable stuff. And we're getting in the home stretch here. So next one up, we love your political correctness and tolerance. It's our greatest weapon against you. This is happening in Europe, and it's fixing to happen here as well. And next one up, golly, you can't unsee that. There's Schumer supposedly doing a barbecue. Ooh. If y'all haven't seen his wife, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, go look it up. Look up Chuck Schumer's wife. And here we go. This piece of crap, Judge Merchan, treasonous SOB, had the gall to sentence Trump today and then wish him the best of luck in his second term as president. We've covered that ad nauseum, so I'm going to comment more on it. And from Donald Trump, truly historic United States presidents. And if you have a look down here for the 46th president of the United States, liberal staffers, 2021 to 2025. That's only partially true. This is Obama's third term, and Obama's strings are being pulled by John Brennan. And of course, Obama is running Condoleezza Rice and the rest of them. The truth will come out in spades. We already know what a good chunk of it is. Shout out to the truckers leaving bottles of apple juice for thirsty vegans. Yeah, all right. They say Trump is out of control, but he is not. He is just out of their control. Great quote on the part of Tucker Carlson. And the last one here, Joe Biden yelling at Nancy to hurry up because corn pops awaiting. Can't make this stuff up at all. So that is the end of chapter 4 tonight. It's the first time we've done 4 chapters. So homework related to our conversation with JJ and Michael Letts. So regarding this upcoming mass deportation, problems with our border, thanks to, Obama's third administration. So first, watch JJ's movies at thisistreason.com. It's $9.99. I'll bring it up and show it to y'all. So thisistreason.com. You can order DVDs. There's a members only area. The quality of these 2 documentaries is just amazing. So for $9.99, you can get both documentaries. $14.99, you also get the VIP access. We had somebody on YouTube say that JJ was a bad guy because he charges $9.99 for this and he should give it away. I know for a fact that just JJ, not including Ryan Matta, but JJ spent over $200,000 out of his own pocket crisscrossing the country to bring this to light. He's not making any money at $9.99. I can assure you of that. So to the people who said he should just work for free, nobody works for free, but the person who's perfectly happy to pay for their electric bill, their internet connection to get to YouTube, blah, blah, blah. They're fine with that, but not okay with JJ charging a very reasonable $9.99 for 2 feature-length documentaries. And here's Michael Letts. You can see him right here in the back. His nonprofit. So this is number 2. So you can watch the movies at JJ's Movies. This is Treason.com. And the second thing you can do is help protect law enforcement officers by donating to investusa.org. All these links are in the brief. Quality of their panels is just like unparalleled. And we actually have some coming our way here shortly, not for sale, but this is a fantastic program where you can really, really help law enforcement. And they're not just getting body panels, they're getting titanium body panels, the best of the best. Like he mentioned, you can take a hit from a 50 BMG. It won't penetrate the titanium plate, but the concussion will kill you. So at least you'll look good if you have an open coffin. And the third action item, homework for y'all, is you can donate to Lieutenant Colonel Doc Pete Chambers' nonprofit, the Remnant Ministry, Texas. Again, all these links are in the brief. They actually have 4 lines of effort now. So one of them, border operations. So this started with Doc Pete on horseback with his dog, patrolling the border, gathering intel on the bad guys and relaying that info to Texas DPS. His group's also done a fair bit of interdiction when it comes to child sex trafficking, which is the middle one, Operation Milestone. They help other people get ministries off the ground. And ever since Hurricane Helene hit, they've donated a tremendous amount of their time and money and effort helping the hurricane relief efforts in West North Carolina. Quick reminder for our Patreon, patreon.com/survival dispatch. You get about 50% of the content for free. If you pay $9.99 a month, you get all of the content. So for $9.99 a month, you get the Insider Daily Sit Rep, which is essentially a highly curated publication. We use it as the brief to run our videos as well. Access to exclusive behind the scenes content, access to our private encrypted Signal chat. That was intended to be just a mechanism to relay intel in the event of SHTF happening. What we didn't anticipate that it was going to be adopted and used heavily for sharing amongst Survival Dispatch insiders, plus interacting with our guys like S2 and Mike Sterling, etc. It's just exploded. There are 600,000 messages a day. Absolutely incredible. These are your people. You know, if you've watched our video to this point in time, you have found your people. And the process is, by the way, you sign up for $9.99. You send an email to support@survivaldispatch.com with your phone number after you have installed Signal on your phone. And once you've got that, we'll get an invite out to you to join the crowd. Again, it's absolutely awesome, the camaraderie and information being shared. You also get our 228-page essentials guide for free. It's normally $9.99. You get 50% off all of our Insider e-magazines. There's 36 of them. So instead of $9.99, you only pay $4.99, and you get some early access to content. Speaking of content, at the end of the daily sit rep, we've added a section for restricted stuff. So this is stuff that we can't put on platforms like YouTube without getting more strikes. Again, we're sitting on 2 strikes right now. You got to get to 90 days for them to expire. So we can't afford another strike right now. The same goes for Facebook, Instagram. I don't really care about Meta's platforms, but it's better to have a voice than not. And in addition to restricted content, there's also a new section called partner deals for insiders. There's, 24 vendors that we really endorse, that we work with them. We like their products, and there's links, and many of those links include a discount, and there's also discount codes in that section of the daily sit rep. All right. And other than that, the only thing left to cover is the conflicted question of the day. And we've been using Grok a fair bit because even with 14 decks of conflicted the game, we're starting to run out of questions there. So today is the Grok question of the day. What are your top 3 recommendations for someone just starting to prepare for emergencies? So number one, you have to have a means to secure potable water, potable, whatever, tomato. So that means that you either stack up a ton of bottled water or you have the means to purify water. So not just filter it, but actually purify it so that you can drink and cook with it. That's priority number one. Priority number two is you can't run a V8 on a gallon of gas. You better make sure you've got food so you can buy freeze-dried food and canned food that has a super long shelf life, or you can buy a freeze dryer and do it yourself. We have a couple freeze dryers and they're badass. They're great. And the third thing, keep it in mind if, the shit hits the fan, would be to get training. So going to the range and, shooting your pistol or your rifle, good for familiarity with the controls, good for dialing in optics, not good for anything else. So training means learning how to run and shoot on the move with an elevated heart rate. And it's difficult. It's really, really hard. But I haven't mentioned the stat in a while, but I'm going to mention it because it's germane. 70% of Floridians who are killed by gunshot each year are killed with their own weapon and have not committed suicide either. So basically what happens is an untrained person pulls their sidearm, they freeze, they go into condition black, the bad guy takes the gun away from them and shoots them. So getting professional training is a big, big deal. Shooting from a prone position, shooting from a kneeling position. So you can do exercises, you can do band exercises, dumbbell exercises, body weight exercises, sprint, shoot a volley of either live ammunition, or you can use tools like the Mantis X products. So the X10 goes on anything. The Blackbeard X goes in AR platforms, AR-15 and the AR-10. It'll tell you things like your gun's cantilevered. It'll tell you that when you pull the trigger, you pull too hard and you're jerking the gun to the right, so on and so forth. What's measured gets done. It's a great way of, measuring where you're at. And then as you practice more and more, rising up in the ranks. You can also get rifles from unitsolutions.com that are very realistic, shoot an 8mm kinetic projectile. But they have built-in recoil, so when you shoot the rifle or the SBR, you get a realistic kickback from it. You can put fake canisters on the end, so your length is the same as what you would have for live fire. But go get training, and then go get more training, and then practice your training. These are perishable skills, and God forbid, but if we ever find ourselves in a true SHTF situation, those people who know how to defend themselves stand a chance of survival. Those who don't stand such a great chance of survival. So we will be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern, usual time. We've got some pretty awesome guys coming up next week. We've got Tony Blauer and a very famous SEAL, Michael Jaco, coming on. It's going to be an amazing conversation. The following week, we'll be in Vegas for SHOT Show. And we've got an awesome lineup of top tier people that'll be on Survival Dispatch News Live while we're in Vegas. That is basically it. We had a problem with the video at the end of the last night, so I teed the same video up for tonight. The Sound of Violence. We've multiple requests to do this one again. For those people new, we always play a cool video to wrap up our podcast. So tonight is The Sound of Violence again, 4-minute video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. God bless America.
In the darkness once again, unearthly violence with no end. Power visions quietly storming, funds of fueling downstream drain. Our visions of no was put on hold. Now they've been told. In the sound of violence, it's not a dream, their lives are torn, blood flowing over dirt and stone. sight of a deadly drone, greenlit to fire innocence unknown. Every mother and father must bury another son. The world's undone. The innocent sound of violence. Then in a shining light we saw 100 million people strong. People screaming, just listen to me. Politicians, it's your reckoning. People casting choice. Their voices will be heard. Unchain the world. The sound of violence. Bring the hope that we all know. Let the fear drain, let it go. Clearing the words, he will fight for you. Holding hands out, he will pull you through. Heed the words, this warning will ring in hell. The sending sound of violence. Standing tall, our fists are raised. The Lord God is saved. And your faith restored and soaring. Still in the light, eyes are opening. And the light said words of false prophets tearing down the Pentagon walls. So leave us all. Let's say